So, what's going up, guys? Today I'm going to talk about gold, since I think a lot of people are currently interested in gold. At the same time, nobody really knows where it's heading. But the main focus will be probably on technical analysis today and taking a look at the chart, because from a fundamental perspective, I don't know if you know, but you should know, gold correlates with the US dollar, which means most of the times when the US dollar gets stronger, gold gets weaker, which is actually what we are seeing now, because the USA, compared to, for example, if we take Europe, they kind of have reopened completely again, which means they don't have any masks, any lockdowns, any kind of restrictions. While in Europe, Britain or UK, for example, they kind of have this new virus going on. I think it's called the Delta, a variation version of the COVID-19 virus, which means they are going into lockdown again, or somehow they will not completely open for the next month or so. And other parts of Europe are kind of more or less in a half lockdown, whatever. You need a lot of paperwork, rules, testing, all those kind of things to move around. Even, for example, some countries need a test just to go to the restaurant, or and all those kind of things. This is why the US dollar is at the moment getting stronger and has some influence on gold. So, with that being the case, this was some small kind of insight on the fundamentals. But for now, let's go and take a look at the charts. So in front of me is the gold chart, and we have been on this bullish trend ever since, well, we could say maybe back 2015, but here somewhere around would be the trend line, which suggests that we have retested the trend line here like the third time in March, April. So we have been forming this pretty nice trend line, and we are now somewhere at the 1850 area, which acted previously as a support and resistance line. Now if we add some more indicators, now let's just see. Now here we have had the cross between the 50 and 200 day EMA, which means that we should be or continue this bullish trend and seek for even bigger highs. Now if we take a look back to some other crossovers that we had previously in this market, for example, here we went below the 200 day EMA, and after the cross, well, we saw here, for example, some sideways trading, and then rallied all the way up after forming this kind of triangle here. Let me make it just some. No, this was back in 2019, and then we rallied all the way up, and here we kind of came back to the previous support area, which means this could happen here as well. Since we are now at the 50-day EMA and previously we broke slightly lower, which means we could see a pattern going on like this and form a triangle here, which could, well, actually it could go all the way to the side until we retest the trend line again, which could be, or which could last until maybe the end of the year, depending on how we, what is going on now. So which means we could see a sideways movement or an up and down for the next couple of months, and then see a huge spike for gold to rally, since this is what happened at the last crossover. If we take a look at another one here, for example, we broke all the way below the 200-day EMA after a crossover, and currently we are at this position above the 50-day EMA, which means this could happen here as well. The only difference is that here the bullish trend was not that strong as it is right now. For example, here we kind of had a similar pattern back to the 50-day EMA after the crossover, and then again forming here a nice support line and then shooting all the way up to new heights. And this pattern basically is, or has been repeating itself. Here we broke down to the 200-day EMA and we went higher, but at the same time we went straight from a bearish momentum to yet another bearish momentum. This was back in 2011 to 12, which means taking a look to the current time frame, we could see some similar pattern where we go here lower and we have now this breakout that we had back in 2012, and we could form a complete downtrend. Like if you look at this pattern, it's almost identical. The only difference is that here we had a support line and here we have lower lows. So this could also be something that might happen, since we had pretty high. Here we also came close to the 1900 levels and now we are even above them. And looking back to 2008, we have a pattern that is maybe even more similar to what we have now, since we have here formed this kind of lower lows, and then we had the crossover between the again 50 and 200-day EMA. We came back to the 50-day EMA, which is where we are currently now, and then we kind of formed here a support area. We rallied again, but it took us, well, we are here pretty much, well, not pretty much, this was back in March, we have now middle of June, but it took us from March to September, about 6 months before we rallied all the way up again, and we formed here also kind of a triangle. Which, well, this could maybe even be considered to be a wedge rather than a triangle. It's not that important, to be honest, at least not for me. I don't think it is. So we are stuck here at this area currently. So, which means we could see kind of a similar pattern where we just go to the side, for the next couple of months. So if this was March in 2008, and we add 6 months, which would basically be December. So this would actually be, just as I said, the trendline retouch somewhere around here, and then we could see a spike. So until then we could go all the way up and down, up and down, up and down, maybe forming a similar pattern like a triangle over a wedge, and then move all the way up. Because if we remove all those things for now, and let's say we add the, now let's add all the EMAs. Well, here we broke the 20-day EMA and are at the 50-day EMA, so not that much is going on here. Now the only thing which could be, or kind of a little bit of hope that we might rally from here, which, well, is not that likely at the moment, since I said previously the US dollar is getting stronger. The CCI is pretty low, and usually you want to wait until the CCI is turning around and getting to the plus side, or kind of inside the orange yellow box, and then try to move all the way up, which means this could happen here if we manage to stay here actually, and form here a nice pattern as we did in all the previous examples. We could go higher, but then maybe pull back here again and form those kind of triangles. So would I be a buyer when it comes to gold? Well, I think I would. Would I be a buyer now? I don't think I would. I think I would still wait maybe even a couple of weeks before we see some kind of better confirmation to the upside. So with that being the case, I think this was the look on gold.